Twilight back. How are you, man?
Hey, what's going on, dude?
It's been a while since I've done a podcast in general. I've just been so incredibly busy, and plus finding people to do podcasts. I've been trying to reach out to other people to get, of course, multiple perspectives. I've even reached out to the developer of Frogun, or Froggun, however you want to pronounce it, and he's interested. He or she. I actually don't. I don't know too much
Oh,
about him, but I'm sorry.
no, that's okay. I mean, you won't know until you actually, talk to somebody.
Right, exactly. I've been very fascinated with that game. I don't think I've done a podcast since done the entire, pretty much played the entire main game, but it's definitely up there with Elden Ring for the best game of the year for me personally.
That's pretty good to hear, honestly. That sounds like a very high praise. I loved Elden Ring, so
um, but Frogun, I mean, the level design is just absolutely incredible. I thought level design like that was gone for almost forever. I mean, of course, the level design in Elden Ring is really good. It's just the platforming for that type of game, like going back to Crash Bandicoot days, it's just is that great. And every level has its own personality and challenge, and man, it's just I get so excited even thinking about it. It's just I even asked the developer, I'm like, man, what were you on to create such incredible level designs?
that's awesome. That is really good to hear. I looked into it a little bit, and I haven't looked into it too much because I do plan on playing it.
Mm-hmm.
But I did see what type of game it is, and it seems pretty interesting.
Oh
I
yes.
just looked at a basic trailer. It was like, oh, okay, all right. I see what we're getting at.
Mm-hmm. I mean it. I remember I saw a trailer. I think it was earlier this year, and I was like, oh man, it kind of looks like a PS1 game. I've been wanting games to look like PS1 games. I've been kind of hoping for that. And then finally, Frogun came out and just totally blew me away. I mean, there are also collectathons, and it has a very interesting checkpoint system. You can use to your advantage. You can get like a very complicated platforming section done, and then hit the checkpoint, and then you don't have to worry about it again. You can just take care of the rest of the level.
Huh, interesting. So is it like I don't know. I guess I haven't really I don't want to spoil myself or anything, but is the challenges where you have to do the whole stage in terms of platforming, or is it where you have to collect something in a specific section and then you can choose at whatever time you want to pick up a checkpoint?
Well, I'm kind of applying my own difficulty standards, really. So I'm just really so basically it's just organic. Just within what the game allows. So you don't have to collect everything without dying. It doesn't have that kind of Crash Bandicoot brutality. You can go in, collect all the coins, and die as many as you want. There is a section that's like a death run. There's death skull runs in Crash Bandicoot where you had to collect, where I think you had to collect a special gem or something without dying, or you had to do a certain run without dying. Do you remember those?
Yeah, no, I remember those.
Yeah, Frogun actually has that. Um, you got to collect a purple skull, crimson skull, I believe is what they're called. And this area doesn't have any coins. You're basically just going through this section just to collect the purple skull. And once you get it done, like I said, just hit the checkpoint. And you don't have to worry about it again. But these sections are incredible. Now, the one complaint I do have about them, they tend to kind of hang on to a very consistent challenge design with the zip lining. So once you kind of see the zip lining portion when in a particular stage, they kind of keep building on that, and it does have its little twists. So, but after a while, you kind of get tired of seeing the same kind of challenging aspect. You kind of want to see them explore a little bit more. But other than that, that's really just a nitpick.
Yeah, I like the art style. It kind of reminds me of I'm gonna say Super Mario 64 a little bit,
Uh
but
huh.
but in a different way.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, sorry.
no, I don't know if Super Mario 64 is what I really wanted to say, but like it kind of gives me those vibes,
Hmm.
even if not necessarily the art style doesn't necessarily look like that. It's just the vibe.
Right. Yeah. This game is incredibly addictive when it comes to speedrunning. I mean, it could I could see this game really getting people into speedrunning. Really, I don't know if that's the intention of the design, but you can really just you can find the exploits in the level design where you can just kind of zip line over and just cut the level in half. And of course, you don't have to do that, but it's very fascinating when you do achieve it. There are races. There are each level section has a race. Oh, by the way, this game for $15, this game is massive. It's like a Crash Bandicoot sized game, but only for $15, and it blew me away how it just kept going after I completed each section. I was maybe thinking 3 at the most, but from what I've seen, it has 6 sections of like 6 levels each, and 5 of them are the main campaign, and then there's a sixth one that's a bonus.
Oh, nice. So kind of like a completionist type final area or something.
Right? Yeah, there are. It was funny when I was hoping to platinum the game when it first came out. Unfortunately, they have a lot of bugs that they're working out. I haven't played it because there's a glitch that prevents you from collecting all the coins on one level. So I really don't want to jump back into it until I know all the bugs are fixed and I can rely on a platinum for it. And this is
Oh, I
probably the first
gotcha.
game I've been wanting to platinum in a while. I used to be really big into trophy hunting a few years ago, but here lately I just haven't had the motivation. But Frogun definitely brought it back. They just need to patch it so I can platinum it because right now you cannot platinum it.
Oh, I see. Okay, I
Yeah.
see. Did they I was gonna say, did they have a lot of interesting trophies or cool trophies that, kind of make you, do some cool stuff outside of the box for the platinum, or mostly, straightforward completionist type trophies?
Let me look that up real quick because I don't want to just assume anything. Let's see, Frogun. I see I got 23 out of 31. Most of them are just they're kind of like Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Sekiro kind of trophies where you got to beat boss fights and get the trophies for. Um, I don't think there's really anything outside the box. There's a take a photo of the scenery. I'm not exactly sure what you need to do in order to achieve that. I haven't looked into that. One that I found really fascinating was the completed bestiary, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. You know what I mean? Is it
Yeah,
list of
the
enemies?
monster list or something. Yeah.
Yes, and I love that trophy. It really encourages you to explore around, and I think it only registers if you kill the enemy, from what I understand. There's a beat the boss rush. I like that. Something I wish Dark Souls would have. Like in Sekiro with the gauntlets, you don't get any trophies for beating the gauntlets. You do get a nice, you do get cool costumes, but I really wish they added more trophies for Sekiro. um,
Yeah. Sometimes I don't know when people when games do DLC. I don't know why they don't, do trophies as well. It's like, okay,
yeah,
I
and
feel like that should be no, that should be part of the package.
exactly. The only time they've ever added trophies for a DLC was Bloodborne,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
then
I don't know. That's really
and
weird.
then with Scholar of the First Sin, they actually combined the game's collection status for the platinum. So you
Making
had to
it
collect.
harder.
Right, and I
Yeah.
love that. I was like, man, I wish they would do that again. I was hoping they would do that for the remaster of Dark Souls, where you had to go into the
Yeah.
DLC and collect everything, but they didn't do it, and it sucked.
I know.
And then they didn't do it for Dark Souls Fire Fade editions, I believe. They didn't do it there, if I understand.
No, they didn't.
Man, it's just so much potential for an awesome platinum, and they're like, oh, you just do the same thing. But yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
have
surprising that they went down that route, honestly. You
I've
would think.
I've really never been that impressed with the trophies for the entire for any of the games really, except for the Blue Point release of Demon Souls, because they actually
Yeah,
put
so
in boss specific trophies. I really love that, and I wish they would have done that for every boss.
yeah, I was gonna single them out too. I think they did a good job with the trophy list for that one.
And
Um, yeah, just like nice, cool little challenges, to kind of give you a different play style or just to make you want to replay the game. Because as it stands, Souls games, you can go to New Game Plus, but you don't have to to
yeah,
really experience the whole game, except for Dark Souls 2. And Dark Souls 2, you had to go to New Game Plus to experience the full game
right.
because they changed stuff in New Game Plus. So
And and I'm kind of having to create my own challenges here lately, just organically through the game, just so I can maybe, because I don't like using magic, but I'm like, how can I encourage myself to explore with magic? I think the only time I've ever used magic was in Demon Souls with the Flame Lurker, because the Flame Lurker was just crazy difficult for me back in the day, and pretty much
back in the
after
day, he's still
that,
tough.
huh?
No, I said back in the day, he's still tough.
The what?
The Flame Lurker, he's still tough.
Oh yeah, he's crazy. I mean, you can't even hug up against him because of the fire damage.
Yep.
I've seen soul level no roll challenges, and people basically have to run up to him, hit him, and run away, and just repeat the process. I mean, it's a very tedious way to defeat him without taking damage, because it's just there's really not much you can do unless if if you want to explore the boss fully without being OP, you basically just got to hit him and run. It's just kind of it
Yeah.
sounds very typical, but with the flame lurker, you got to do that in order to avoid the fire damage.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. His AI is pretty crazy too. He can have some instant attacks and
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's very difficult to kind of get a read on what he's about to do.
Oh man, I just actually about 30 minutes ago, I finally got to Death Right Bird without taking damage, and I wasn't able to do the no roll challenge. I was able to do it with the Death Bird, but with the Death Right Bird, there was just too much RNG for me to do a no roll challenge. I'm just thankful I got the no damage run on him.
Some of those magic attacks can be pretty tough. Oh man, I remember trying out a soul level or a rune level, like a no level run, a rune level one,
Hmm.
and I could not defeat a Death Rider. Just between doing the damage and just making sure you dodge everything, I just couldn't beat the Death Right Bird. I beat the Death Birds; those weren't too bad, but I just couldn't beat the Death Right Birds. It's like an amazing test of endurance, to not get
Yeah.
hit a single time when these guys can fly around, use magic, have all kinds of crazy AoE, and they're just overall tough.
It's yeah. In my opinion, it's not very well designed because the attacks are not telegraphed very well. Because it with the Death Ride bird, you kind of have to anticipate an attack that you really need to already start preparing to avoid before it happens. And for example, he has this one attack where he backs up and he shoots a bunch of projectiles at you. Unless you're anticipating it, you have no way of knowing he's going to do it. Um,
Yeah, and it's very difficult to dodge.
Yeah, so basically, once imagine doing this without a heads-up display. You basically got to know exactly how many hits it's going to take. Once you start anticipating how when he's going to do it. So when I
Yeah, when he
what
goes like
yeah
his
so
half phase.
yeah so I mean basically yeah his second phase shift and once his health gets halfway down. So once I hit him a few times, I kind of start backing off. And really, I feel like once I got the footage, I was like, man, I just felt like I got lucky. Every time I fought this boss and I got close, it just always felt lucky. Didn't really feel like I applied hardly any skill to it because, I was like just relying on him, hopefully hoping he wouldn't do certain attacks. Because I think the most devastating one for the no roll challenge was um, his stomp. He would rise up and then slam him to the ground. That made the no roll challenge very very hard to complete. And that's
Yeah, you
yeah.
basically have to roll to dodge that, right?
Yeah, and that's one reason why I'm not fully into no roll challenges because of stuff like that. It's just the RNG. You got to hope that bosses don't, you know, they don't perform the certain attack that's going to compromise the no roll challenge. And it's very fun doing a no roll challenge when it's reasonable, but when you just have an attack that just totally ruins it, it doesn't make it as fun.
Yeah, it kind of makes you think of basically you have to manipulate their AI in a way, and
Yeah.
sometimes it just doesn't work out in your favor.
Yeah, it's just a lot of backing off, and I mean, I do that to a certain extent, but when it comes to no rolling, you really got to find that little iframe all the time and hope that it works out. I don't know if you've seen any. Whenever I want to learn more about a boss or save some time, I'll just watch a video of someone doing a level one no roll, just to see how generous the boss is, and you'll be surprised how much you can learn about a boss just by watching someone do a no roll challenge for them.
Oh my God, yeah, speedrunners and well, maybe not necessarily speedrunners because a lot of times they
Well,
go specifically for damage, and killing something
yeah.
really fast doesn't really necessarily make you learn how to fight it.
Exactly, and I even looked up speed runs and just to see how people got through like Smo and Ornstein, and someone just goes in there with a buffed up lightning weapon and just kills them in like a few hits. I'm like, oh man, I was hoping they would show me how to do something more, you know,
I know.
methodical, with the boss set instead they're just going in there being OP and just knocking them out.
Like you didn't learn anything,
Yeah,
It's like, okay, yeah, you sure you can kill him in a couple of hits, that's cool.
right.
But I didn't learn how to fight him.
And if that's what you like to do, I mean, that's totally fine. It's just I like, personally, I just like to learn a little bit more about the game before I progress.
It's funny because that kind of reminds me of Monster Hunter. On Monster Hunter World, what do you call it? Capcom created a DLC. Well, it wasn't DLC. It's free DLC, but it's a boss that they added later on called the Elatrion. So the Elatrion was a very hard fight because it had this mechanic where if you didn't do enough elemental damage to it within a certain period of time, it would just kill you. It would just wipe you. Basically, kind of like a raid boss from like Final Fantasy or World of Warcraft or whatever. If you didn't meet the requirements or whatever, you would just die.
Hmm.
So people didn't know how to fight him. They didn't know how to, you know, bait out certain attacks or how to punish the boss for, attacking a certain way, or like the boss had a lot of openings. It's truly one of my favorite fights, and just in video game in general, it beats out some Dark Souls bosses for me,
Oh
just
wow.
because of how well designed it was. And the fact of that mechanic, the threat of that mechanic instant wiping you just because you're not doing enough elemental damage is I don't know, I feel like they should do more bosses like that in action RPG games rather than, specifically in MMOs and those types of games, because you having complete control in an action RPG game just makes the fight so much more fun.
Hmm.
And I don't know how else to explain it. It's just the mechanics were well designed because the boss gives you the openings, but he doesn't like I'm trying to think of how to word it. He gives you the openings, but you have to take the openings. I don't know if I'm making any sense. Like the openings are there, but you have to take advantage of them. Every time he attacks you, there is a specific way that you can retaliate and counterattack him depending on how you're fighting. And for the most part, that's the fight. It's not even about doing the DPS that you need to do and, on his elemental side in order to beat him. It's more so learning how to dance with the ball. I don't know
Hmm.
if I'm making any sense. It's just it just
Yeah.
feels like a dance. You're
Rhythm.
you're going back and forth, you're counterattacking, and it's such a fun fight. Very well designed. And I wish there were more bosses and fights like that in gaming.
I don't know too much about Monster Hunter. I have, I played a few of them. I really couldn't get into them, but I can definitely see how they can be compared to Dark Souls. But I don't want to get into what I don't like about the game and why I don't get it, why I just haven't gotten
Oh
into
no,
it. But
yeah, Monster Hunter is like a it's one of those games that you either click with it and you like it, or it's just not for you. It's just
yeah,
that's that binary. It's very difficult for somebody who doesn't really click with it, doesn't really like it, to just, I don't know, get into it.
I don't know. I mean, heck, I tried Monsters Unite, and it's just for some reason there's a particular spot in the Monster Hunter games I get to, and I just totally lose interest. I don't know if it's just the little weird objectives you got to do, um, or maybe it's just the way the boss fights are designed. I don't know. I just um,
No, no, listen, I completely understand. Believe me, there's so many people that, you know, they would love to actually play the game because obviously, you see other people having fun with it. You want to see what this is about,
mhm.
but you just can't get into it. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just
Yeah.
not, you know,
I don't know if it's
not.
just I don't have the patience with it because I just want to because I'd rather put more time into the Dark Souls, Elden Ring, Sekiro games. I don't know if it's because of that. When it just comes to playing other games, I just have less patience with it. I don't know. I mean, heck, I've been playing. I just got The Last of Us Part One upgrade for the PS5, and I I immediately played on grounded mode, and I'm already just putting a bunch of time into studying and figuring out how to get that through that without using ammo or taking damage in the encounters. I'm like, well, how come I can put time into this, but when it comes to Monster Hunter, I just don't. I just lose patience so quickly.
I completely listen, man. I tell you, I completely understand. This happens to a lot of people with Monster Hunter. It's just it either clicks and you kind of understand that, the gameplay loop and you like it, or
Hmm.
it just doesn't. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in Monster Hunter, I mean, whenever I like properly calculating my attacks, like with the heavier weapons, just getting that nice little slam in the monster's face is really fun. But I think it's maybe when the monsters start running away is what really pulls me back.
Oh, I got you. So it's whereas in most like Souls games, for example, there's no retreat mechanic. The bosses are always, hey, I'm here to try to kill you. Whereas in Monster Hunter, they do have that moment where it's not about you. They just either want to survive or they have other stuff going on where they want to go after other creatures, and
Hmm.
I get that. I think I get that.
It could be a blue balls effect because you get in the heat of battle, you got a rhythm going, and then all of a sudden the boss is like, oh, I'm gonna go walk over here. You gotta chase me down for a few minutes. I
Yeah.
think that's what happens because I keep imagining I'm like, what would happen if I walked into the Margit fight and he just decides to take off in the Limgrave and I had to go look for him, find him again, and then just end up dying, and then I gotta do that whole process all over again. I probably wouldn't like Elden Ring as much.
Probably not.
So that could be it. I just don't like chasing things around. I just want them to fight me and learn. It's because one thing I can't stand is just maybe time wasting. Just I don't know. Just chasing the bosses just isn't for me, I guess.
No, I get it. And in previous Monster Hunter games, there was definitely a lot of that. Like half of the time that you would be spending on the hunt wouldn't actually be fighting the monster, it would be doing other stuff like collecting stuff around the map or chasing or trying to locate the monster. So that was half of the stuff that you did in Monster Hunter and the old Monster Hunter games.
And is it?
And the new ones, they sort of are streamlining it a little bit. Like, and for example, in Monster Hunter Rise, uh, you always know where the monster is, like as soon as you start the match. So it's kind of like I don't like that as much. I kind of prefer the old way where, you have to track the monster and figure out where it was, and I like that. But again, it's the type of gameplay loop that it either clicks with you and you like it, or
Yeah.
you don't.
And I'm not interested in taking anything away from Monster Hunter. I understand people play these games in order to hunt the monster, and anything that simulates a hunt is fantastic. And it's like my cousin. I'm trying to get him on the podcast so we can talk about old Lego games. He loves Monster Hunter. He likes it a lot more than Dark Souls. And I've mentioned these criticisms I have to him. He was like, "Oh man, it's a game. When the monster runs away, it's like a hunt. They need to go away and to recuperate themselves. It just adds more atmosphere to the fight." And I'm like, "Yeah, I get that. It's just I don't know. I don't want that."
Right? Yeah, it's not for you, and there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm. And then I can't, I want to love every game. It's just it's just a bunch of little tiny things like to build up, and I'm like, I don't want to play that game anymore. Like Ghost of Tsushima, I got through Act 1 and then Act 2 started, and I'm like, man, it just feels more of the same for some reason. And it kind of sucks because a lot of people are giving the game a lot of praise, and then I jump on, I'm like, how am I not seeing the appeal like everyone else?
Oh yeah, that definitely I mean, that happens to people for Souls games too. For example, obviously Elden Ring has been critically acclaimed and sold very well. Everybody was loving it for a long time, and then you get some people that either never had played a Souls game before, or maybe they're just looking for something new to play, and they're like, man, all these 10 out of 10s, I gotta play this game.
Yeah.
It's just it doesn't click with them. It's not for
Mm-hmm.
them. They didn't, maybe they don't like the stamina management of Souls games, or they don't like when you die you lose your souls and you have to go find them again. Like, there's a lot of mechanics that are, you know we'll say, pretty niche and Souls games that a lot of just regular players that don't know anything about them
Mm-hmm.
probably won't like.
Yeah, and I've tried converting people over to Dark Souls. Like, I have a friend of mine, and I think my biggest mistake was just holding his hand through the game. We first played Demon
Uh,
Souls for PS3 back when it had online servers, and I was like, oh man, I mean, I've always wanted to play this game with him, and I was really excited about it. And what was so frustrating was every time I would jump on to the game to play with him and help him out. He would say, "Oh, where are we again?" I'm like, "Oh, we're at the Bolterian Palace, Archstone 3." And he's like, "Where is that?" And I'm like, well, it's so and so checkpoint." He's like, "Man, I don't remember this level design at all." I'm like, "Really? We were going through this level like for an hour or two. You don't remember anything about it?" He's like, "Nah, I just don't like the level design." I'm like, "What are you talking about? This is like superb level design. How in the world are you forgetting how this level design works? And how do you not like it?" It was just blowing my mind, just how he was like,
uh,
"Oh yeah, this I don't really care for this," and then he'll just turn around and like games like Horizon Zero Dawn and Ghost of Tsushima, where the level design is just really bland to me.
yeah, it's always tough whenever you love something so much and you're like, how can you not see what I love about this game?"
I know,
Or how can you not love this as much as I do?
man,
I get it.
but it's just something I mean, you just got to focus on what you enjoy, and sometimes it's just not even worth trying to get someone to enjoy. You just kind of got to let them you figure it out, and maybe they'll eventually love it, maybe they won't. And that's kind of what my that situation is with me and my friend. We're just kind of, our taste in video games have seemed to spread out, and we just don't play anything anymore. Like, we used to play stuff like Minecraft, 7 Days to Die. I think that's kind of where our gaming priorities meet. Is just kind of crafting open world games, I guess. But anything
All
other
right.
than that, we really just don't enjoy anything. Because we tried playing Overcooked together, and we played Overcooked for hours when we first discovered it. Because at first we were just playing it just to joke around, be like, "Oh, this little baby game, we'll just play it and just have fun with it, and make fun of it and everything." And I ended up loving it to death, and became one of my favorite games of all time. And he kind of went a different direction. He just told me it was too stressful, and he just he went to go play something else while I played the rest of it.
Yeah, that happens too. And it's fine because,
Yeah.
like, if you think about it, that's why there's so many different types of games, and there's so many different different gamers out there is because we all have different tastes and we all, you know, have that one thing that we could just literally sit there and play for hours on end. And then somebody else looks at us and is like, why have you been playing this game for 500 hours? You know,
Mm-hmm.
like,
Man,
how can you play Tetris for 600 hours? That's impossible.
can you
It's
guess how
like,
many?
no, it's not.
Can you guess how many hours I have in Bloodborne?
Shoot. We'll be conservative. I'll give you like 1,000.
3,000.
3,000. Holy smokes.
It doesn't even feel like that much because it feels like I don't know as much about Bloodborne like I do in Dark Souls. But of course, I mean, it doesn't tally the hours I have from the PS3. But man, I'm like, Bloodborne, really? 3,000 hours?
That is nuts. Oh my gosh.
I mean, I had to.
Yeah, no, well, you know what? I guess I definitely understand because I have 3,000 hours in Monster Hunter World.
Nice.
But
Wow.
by contrast, Monster Hunter Rise, I only have 300 hours, which is kind of nuts because Monster Hunter Rise, I mean, I'm playing it on the Switch. It's portable. I can take it with me anywhere. I can play it anytime. It's just they went in a direction that I'm not really like, I don't know. It's just the game is not really appealing to me
Hmm.
anymore because of the decisions that they're making. They're casualizing the game in a way that I don't agree with,
Okay.
you know? And it's like for me it's fine. Like I like, being able to get new people to play something and get into something and making something a little you know, easier for people to get into. I like that idea, you
Mm-hmm.
know, but not at the expense of your core players, the people that have been playing your game for years. You don't, you don't neglect them just because you're trying to get some new players into the game.
Yeah.
It's like, eh, I don't know. Again, I'm not a game developer or a publisher, so I can't really tell you, but Monster Hunter Rise has been selling really well for them. So whatever
Mm.
changes they made clearly is clicking with a lot of new people and, people like me that have been around basically since nobody knew what Monster Hunter was. We just have
Right.
to either go along for the ride or stop playing.
Yeah, and I imagine what the fans of Resident Evil are probably going through when Resident Evil 7 came out. They're like, man, what is this first person game doing with the Resident Evil title? And I can agree that Resident Evil 7 should have never been called Resident Evil. It really should have been its own thing. Um, and the only reason why I say that is just it does deviate a lot from the original gameplay, but it does have a lot of little aspects from the series, like the puzzle solving and stuff like that. It's just the story just seems so different. It just has little tiny connections, but it feels as I don't know if it would have been as popular with its own unique title. Uh,
Yeah, and I think a lot of developers do that. They'll basically use the name of something to sell something else, to sell a new idea or to sell, a brand new game. They'll call it, "Hey, this is this game. You remember this game. You've been
mm,
playing it for years." But it's actually not really.
yeah, I
Yeah, I'm
mean,
trying to think of there are definitely other games that recently have done that too, where it's like, this is not, X game or whatever. It's like, this is something completely different. You should have just named it something completely different, and maybe it would have stood well on its own, as a new concept.
yeah, I mean, just look at Elden Ring. I mean, it's got a totally different title, totally different story. Improved mechanics, and it just easily became one of the best games ever made.
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
totally
From Software
original.
has done
I mean,
well with that. Yeah.
obviously it has borrowed mechanic aspects, but it's used to its best potential currently.
Yeah, I agree. Like you can have things that are, inspired or even spiritual sweet sequels to things without actually calling it the same name just to basically sell on the name of your intellectual property alone. It just doesn't work sometimes.
And I mean, obviously, I have a lot of problems with Elden Ring, but I think that's the reason why I love it so much. It's just I think my favorite game of all time is not going to be 10 out of 10 perfect. I mean, it's going to have problems that's going to you know it's going to have more characteristics with the issues that it has. Like
Right.
for
I
example,
think I see what you mean.
yeah, and like for example, I think in like a top five, The Last of Us is probably in there somewhere. And in my opinion, that's closer to a 10 out of 10 than Dark Souls. And that the reason why, I mean, see, Dark Souls is at my number one, and maybe Dark Souls is at 8 out of 10, and Last of Us is like maybe 9 out of 10. But the reason why Dark Souls is on top is because of the replay value. I can just jump into Dark Souls and just find a ton of stuff to do. But The Last of Us, I kind of have to scrape the bottom of the barrel to get a little bit more of a different experience, especially with like grounded mode, little to no ammo and not taking any damage. So there's not really a whole lot I can go back to with The Last of Us. Like I said, just scraping the bottom of the barrel. But it is a very well designed game, and I don't really have too many problems with it, compared to Dark Souls.
Right. A masterpiece doesn't have to be a 10 out of 10.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people have the problem with that concept. When it comes to reviewers giving out a score, for example, when Zelda Breath of the Wild came out and they gave it a master, like IGN gave it a masterpiece. Same thing with Elden Ring. Like clearly there are issues with the game. They're not saying, oh, this game is completely perfect in every aspect. The
Mm-hmm.
story is perfect, the graphics are perfect, there's no bugs, there's no, the game might have some of these issues, but the experience, the complete package is a masterpiece. It's worthy of calling it that. So even though the game might have problems, that doesn't you know that doesn't take away from it being a
Right.
masterpiece.
Oh yes, most definitely. Um, what other games? I mean, heck, Overcooked 2 is another game I would probably consider almost perfect. I mean, each level is incredibly well designed and has its own characteristics and challenge. I mean, I'm so glad that they were able to put everything into one package for the remastered on PS5, and then they put it on PS4. Um, but man, I could play heck. There's so many hours I can put in that game alone, just trying to figure out better ways to send out the food and moving out. Um, I guess this
I've heard
again,
of that game.
huh?
Moving Out. I've heard of that game. Hold on, let me look it up real quick. 'Cause I think it looked interesting to me.
And that can kind of lead
Okay, yeah,
into
it
our
is.
next topic. But yeah, moving out. That was a really fun platinum. One of my favorite platinums. Yeah, I mean, basically, if once you see the trailer, you'll see what I'm talking about. But you move furniture out of the house into a truck, and you can do it in the most chaotic ways possible. Like just throw beds and chairs out of the window, just destroy everything, and it's got very specific challenges. Now, my biggest complaint about the game is that some of the challenges are way too cryptic. They'll give you like a vague little hint, and you'll spend hours just trying to achieve what you think they mean. But other than that, I mean, just incredible experience that I recommend to almost anyone. I think it's a game that everyone can enjoy. I mean, even if you don't want to do all the challenges.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. It definitely looks. It kind of reminds me of. I mean, if you think about it, it kind of reminds me of Overcooked in a way.
Yeah, that's
There's
what drew
just
me
that
to it.
chaotic nature of managing a bunch of stuff at the same time.
Um, so talking about speaking of moving out, the sequel was announced a few weeks ago.
Oh, is it? What is it? Is it still called Moving Out
Yeah, it's
or?
moving out too,
Oh, okay.
and they finally brought in online play that which is something I really wasn't really asking for because I just don't play games online, but apparently the community really wanted it, for obvious reasons. But I just hope they
Right.
go all
Yeah.
out crazy with the level designs. They need to get challenging. The DLC for the first moving out was incredible. The level design was, well, half of the levels are really good. Some levels are kind of gimmicky, and it just doesn't really do a whole lot challenge wise. But still, just the what they were doing in the DLC, I really hope I get to see more of in the second game. Um, so have you pre-ordered God of War yet, Ragnarok?
I have not. I've been debating on whether or not I'm gonna be part of the crowd that plays the game at launch,
Okay.
or if I'm gonna wait. Mostly because I waited to play God of War 2018.
Mm-hmm.
I played it in 2020. And I don't know, I was fine with that.
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, I definitely understand so much hype around the game. I don't want to get spoiled by not playing it and then everybody's talking about it. And so I do get that sense. So I'm still on the fence.
Yeah.
Mostly because
Oh, sorry.
I know it's gonna be a good game and I know it's probably gonna be one of those games that's timeless. It's a
Yeah.
single player game. I don't have to worry about uh, you know, playing with people or something. Like, for example, Elden Ring is one of those games, as much as it is a single player game, it is also a multiplayer game.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of multiplayer aspects into it. And, for at least for me, when I play the Souls games, I do like that experience of, you know, playing online and playing with the community and engaging with the invasion system or the co-op system. I like all of that when it comes to the Souls games. So I engage in that a lot. So playing it at launch when literally everybody is playing it is the best experience for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I do come back to it years upon years and, go back and do, challenge runs and just explore the game more and, just basically dissect every little thing that I can about it because it's just that type of game.
Yeah,
But
and
God of War is one of those games that for me, I don't. It doesn't matter if I play it now or 5 years from now; it'll still be the same experience. Minus the discourse around the game, obviously.
well, this one's going to be really big story wise because apparently they're going to end the Norse mythology in this one. They're not going to make a third one in Norse mythology, from what I've heard. So there's a lot of stuff that's apparently going to happen in this one, and I really want to play it day one so I don't get spoiled on what happens.
Yeah, that's definitely what I'm wrestling with. I'm like, man, am I gonna get spoiled? I don't want to get spoiled because obviously I love the story for the first one. I think it was very well done, and you know, I want to know what happens in the sequel. But
Man, I would love for a sequence where Kratos is put back into the Greek mythologies for just maybe for like a hallucination or something, just to kind of put the new gameplay into back into that style. Um, so I mean, we got kind of a little taste of it, of course with the certain
with the first game.
yeah with the first game. I don't want to say too much just in case someone watches this and they're like, oh shoot, spoilers. But
Well, you can say timestamps. So we're gonna be talking about some God of War 2018 spoilers. And if you don't want to listen to this section, skip to whatever the annotation is on the screen. You have 5 seconds. Five, four, three,
ah,
2, 1. Spoilers starts.
it's just it's just small. So we both know what happens because it's just such a small moment. But
Right. Yeah.
I really hope we
Yeah.
get to see more of the previous style from the other games for maybe just a moment. But if they don't, it's not a big deal. I just I really hope I hope this one's really dark. I hope the story gets really dark, and even if Kratos dies, I mean, it's not really that big of a deal because he does come back. I just don't know how if he dies and then we play as Atreus. I don't know how people are going to react to that. I don't know how I'm going to react to that. I just
You
hope
know,
that it's
I had this weird thing that I was thinking about that could make for a powerful story moment. It's not necessarily if Kratos dies, because Kratos has died many times before.
oh yeah.
It's if Atreus dies, and you don't know if Atreus is coming back, but at some point in the story, you actually get to play as Atreus, and maybe you get to play his, his getting out of hell sort of arc, where he's climbing out of hell just like his dad did, or
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that would make for an interesting story moment, but who knows? It's just something I was thinking about. Like,
Yeah, I mean, they're already playing. I mean, just basically God of War 2018 already. They're playing with different game mechanics other than what we're used to, and so maybe Atreus wouldn't be playing as Atreus wouldn't be that jarring. And then again, in the older games, you do use different weapons, like the blade of Artemis in the first game, and just other multiple weapons you can earn by defeating boss fights. And that's one thing that was missing in 2018, was the fact that you could use different weapons from defeating bosses, and you basically only have two weapons, and
yeah.
which really sucked. Oh, sorry.
No, I know. I definitely felt that way when I was playing. I was like, dang, man, I remember I remember Kratos having access to all these cool different weapons and finding them and leveling them up and getting all the different attack combos was a key part of the experience for me back in the day. But I definitely understand the direction that they went to, trying to make the game feel a little bit more grounded. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, but I would like the weapons to come back.
yeah, I mean, it was just how considering how big the 2018 game is, you would think like since it's an open world, they would have at least a few weapons optional you can earn to at least make the build variety better. That way, you're just not stuck with these two weapons that you may or not be a fan of. But of course, that's not always going to be accessible in every game. But still, it's just when you've played the older games and you have all these different varieties for how you can play, and then you get the 2018 version, which feels, kind of watered down in my opinion. It's kind of disappointing.
Yeah, I agree.
And I know a lot of people don't argue about the complexity of the 2018 version. I'm over here like, well, you can't really deny how much fun the older games were and how many weapons they gave you, and the combos you would have to achieve just by putting in the right input. And this one, you basically just press a button and you can just do special attacks. And of course, the older games had like one button presses where you had like AOE attacks and stuff like that. But those, I don't know, they just felt more impactful because you had to earn them also. And well, hold on, how did you earn
Well,
the?
the game was also designed around those, like
Yeah,
the game
true.
was the games before then were designed with the idea that you're going to be this powerful and have some of these crazy AoE attacks, and
Mm-hmm.
you know obviously the challenge rose up to the occasion. With the 2018 God of War, I very much did not like the difficulty slider. The
Yeah.
fact that everything just became a sponge is
Mm-hmm.
just, I don't know. I didn't think that was fun.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and endurance difficulties are going to appeal to a certain crowd, and that's fine. I mean, personally, I don't play God of War for the challenge. I play it for the story that I'm very interested in, especially with the older games. God of War 3 is definitely one of my favorite gaming stories of all time because I just love a good revenge plot.
Yeah,
Where Kratos
that
is just
game felt like it had everything
oh
between
man,
the
when I first
story, the
played that,
combat,
oh
the
man,
puzzles, the level design. Everything felt good in that game.
and you had that incredible music when Kratos is about to kill someone. It's like dun 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 dun. Dun.
Yeah.
Like man, I need to play it again. It's just so much awesomeness in that game. It
Oh yeah,
um
the OG God of War games still have a special place.
oh yeah, and you can definitely feel you know God of War 1 definitely does feel dated compared to what we've seen. I haven't played God of War 2 in a long time. I need to try that game out. It's just for some reason, whenever I go back, I want to play the first one and then go through all of them. But then I kind of lose interest during the first one because it's just the first one is just it feels so off now, and I hate that because it used to be one of my favorite games of all time, but now it's not.
You've been spoiled. That's why.
Yeah, I know. I've been spoiled. Well, the one thing that really sucks about the first God of War are the balance beams. Those are not fun at all. I could definitely do without those.
Yeah, it really makes you think of how much level design and just gameplay concepts have evolved over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, we thought that that was awesome.
Oh yeah, yep. God of War
Yeah.
was, without the internet, God of War was talked about, a lot. But just by meeting people, like heck, I was going to church and people were talking. Someone was talking about God of War, and I would talk to him. I would talk to that one person about it. Um, but yeah, it was. I don't know if I told you the story about my father. He bought God of War for me, told me to beat it in 7 days because I couldn't own an M-rated game because my mom didn't approve of it. And he was like, "All right, son, beat this in 7 days so we can return it, and then when you get older, you can buy it again if you want." Because he
That's
wanted
an
to see the
interesting.
story. And I was like, "Oh, challenge accepted." So I beat it within 7 days and returned it. And eventually, later on, I bought it. I don't think I was still within the age, but still, I was like, "Oh, greatest hits, God of War." You remember how the PS2 games had the greatest hits with the red label?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the one I got. That's the one I currently still have.
Let me see. I think I have. No, I have the PS3 remastered ones. I don't have any of the PS2 God of War on disc.
Yeah, the Saga
Yeah.
collection.
Yep, I have the Saga collection. I have the Legacy collection. I think the one with the PSP games. And then Ascension. Honestly, I really loved God of War
Oh
Ascension
yeah, me too.
multiplayer. Oh my gosh. It's like I don't know why they never, either expanded on it or came out with something else. Like I thought it was a great addition.
Yeah, I mean the elephant enemies were really cool. When you get to slice open their head and their brain gushes out, I love that.
That game was so good.
Yeah, and I don't understand the hate it gets because I mean I had a blast playing through it.
Yeah, I don't understand it either.
I mean I don't like
But
the multiplayer aspect personally, but other than that, the main campaign was incredible.
oh yeah, with the Sisters of Fate and
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
The
that was a
Kraken
good
you fight at
game.
the end, oh man, that's definitely one of the coolest looking bosses in God of War.
Yeah, now that I think about it, where did it take place in terms of the timeline? I'm not even like remembering now.
This, oh heck, I'm pretty sure it was before God of War, the first God of War. Um, I think, heck, it jumps around so much.
Yeah, now I feel like I gotta go back and play them. I mean, yeah, I still have all of them. You know my problem? It's as much as I have a ton of PS3 disc games because I liked collecting them back in the day, and I still have a ton of them.
Hmm.
But I don't want to boot up my PS3. You have no idea how much I wish that the PS5 could play PS3 games.
Oh yeah.
Because that's one generation, like the PS3 games are probably some of my favorite games in terms of, nostalgia and, stuff that I remember and had so much fun with. I just don't want to play it on an old PS3 system.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you. I mean, my PS3 is super loud, and it just makes a really, I mean, I guess if anything, it does sound like an airplane. Like the memes,
Yeah.
tell. And I've even had people complain about it. I'm like, man, what the heck is that noise? I'm like, it's the PS3, and they're like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, I'm like, yeah, I don't know why it's doing that, but maybe it has dust in it. Yeah, because I'm really bad about not dusting my system. I My computer. The one reason why I haven't been able to do a podcast in a while because my computer was giving me problems. It kept randomly restarting, and I kept looking things up. People were like, "Oh, dust your computer." I'm like, "Okay, well, I dusted my computer. It's still restarting." Oh, we'll go into the settings and set your startup, from manual to automatic delay. I'm like, "What? That's oddly specific." I did that and it doesn't do it anymore.
That is interesting.
And I've been I recently talked to a friend of mine and he actually happens to know a lot about computers, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I recommend this for the processing," and I'm like, man, so what in the world? I mean, just tell me basically what in the world do I need to replace? Because I mean, here are my stats and everything is like, oh well, try an SSD to replace your hybrid, like SSHD. And so I do that, and I think it's making my computer a lot better. I'm putting my editing software stuff onto the SSD, and I think that's going to help out a lot. And I think the computer is smoother, but I think maybe perhaps I need a new Intel or something like that, Intel 7, because I only have an Intel 5.
Oh, you mean like the dang, what do they call those? Jeez, now I'm sound. You would think that I don't know anything about computers, but I swear I know stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Not the GPU, the CPU. You need a new
Yeah,
CPU.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
And my computer, I mean, it's designed to be customizable. I mean, personally, I went over to his house and he had like this huge giant case. I think my cousin has a very similar one, and he has these fans all around it and everything. I'm like, man, does this computer really need that much air flowing through it? And it's a very cool design because one there's like this one special section of the case that keeps all the wiring, and I'm pretty sure that some of those fans could be designed with pixels on it, so it looks like Mario is running all the time. It has to exist somewhere. I couldn't
No,
find it,
that sounds pretty cool.
but I would love that for my computer. Maybe have like a Dark Souls animation or something like that. But I definitely want to eventually work up to that. Get a new motherboard so I can put an SSD chip on the motherboard instead of just having an external SSD to sit inside the case.
Oh
Um,
yeah, that's what I got I got a Aurora's motherboard. It had slots for a one of those M2 SSDs. Yeah, the ones that you slot in.
hmm
It's been pretty good so far.
um, oh, what games are you looking forward to next year?
Nothing really next year. Perhaps Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, because it's definitely not coming out this year.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, obviously I got Moving Out to look forward to, Moving Out 2, and then Resident Evil 4, the upgrade. I definitely want to check that out. I don't know how different it's going to be because you never. I know we talked about this before, but the whole remake versus remaster thing, the whole marketing. I mean, so far Resident Evil has been using the terms correctly in my opinion. Like, the Resident Evil 2 remake is actually
yeah,
a
a
remake.
remake.
It's a very different game. You can't play the first Resident Evil 2 and then expect to play it the exact same way in the remake. So when
Yeah,
they say Resident Evil 4 remake, I'm like, okay, well, it already has that third person, over the shoulder gameplay. So they would, in order for it to really be a remake, they need to change the level design drastically. And so I'm just wondering if they're actually going to do that because they're not exactly clear.
yeah. I mean, Resident Evil 4 is one of those masterpiece games,
Mm-hmm.
that just you don't. It doesn't need to be remade, so I can understand like a remaster,
Yeah.
where you got better graphics, tighter controls, that kind of stuff, quality of life improvements. Like, but it doesn't need a remake.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Unless
let's
they
see.
want to, I think. Oh, sorry.
No, no, I was gonna say we'll see.
I mean, I don't know. I had a lot of problems with it personally, like the quick time events. I think they should just shave those out because those would pull me out of the game because it just doesn't. I mean, I like them in God of War. They just for some reason it fits in God of War. I don't know why. It just flows well. But when it comes to Resident Evil 4, it feels like it turns into a mobile game for a moment whenever it happens. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. I think I know why it feels that way. It's because obviously God of War is an action game. So,
Mm-hmm.
QTEs feel like action sequences. They're not, designed to be, um, and like the way that Resident Evil is kind of more like slow and methodical, and you're deliberate with your actions. It just feels out of place. Like QTEs feel out of place in Resident Evil.
I,
But I kind of get it. They were trying to actionize Resident Evil when they made 4, so it's kind of eh, it's kind of a choice that they made. But I do agree that there were a lot more than they needed to be in the game. So a remake or whatever, remaster, whatever they want to go
whatever it
for.
is. I mean, really, in my opinion, this makes a lot of people upset when they mention the Resident Evil 4 remake. I'll say something like, "Oh, well, that already exists. It's called Resident Evil Village."
Right, yeah, that's also another action game, and it kind of obviously it's first person, so
Mm-hmm.
it's I guess a different perspective.
Well, it's got a lot of very similar themes to it when it comes to certain level designs. Like the whole pond segment where you're running through and you had to eventually fight the big giant fish monster, but you actually get to fight the fish monster. But you know what I mean. There's a lot of very similar elements. Heck,
The
what's
whole
another one?
village concept, I guess.
Yeah, they got the village, people, except they're werewolves. I mean, it's a very nice reimagining, basically. But you can't help but feel those hints of Resident Evil 4, that taste, that. um, but yeah, I'm still looking forward to it, even if it's just gonna be a simple, remaster, or if they actually somehow trim it and add some different level designs, like the dolls. That's another similar aspect. It was actually removed from the original Resident Evil 4, and then they placed it in the village.
What do you mean the doll?
The doll
Hmm.
segment where he goes into that house and he's being, chased around by those dolls. I mean, well, not chased around, but he's walking in that house where all those dolls are attacking him
Oh, geez,
in the
I don't
village.
remember that section for some reason.
It's really small. It wasn't really that great, but apparently it was going to be something in Resident Evil 4. Um, but I hope they readjust number 4 to where it's more horror based. There are very scary sections of number 4, but a lot of it was still very actiony, for
Yeah,
lack of a better word. Um, so I'm hoping that they place more horror elements into the level design and atmosphere, like with Resident Evil 7. Resident Evil 7, it is such a very specific experience, but it's really fun every time I play it, because you can't really play it differently every time, but it's just the atmosphere is so well done with the level design that it doesn't really bother me somehow.
did you play it in VR, or did you play it regular?
I played it regular, but in VR I get motion sickness really badly. It makes me sick.
Yeah, I think I tried VR for a little bit. I actually like racing games in VR, believe it or not,
Hmm.
even though they're fast paced. Um, I can do racing games, but whenever it comes to a game where you're walking and you have to, that I can't do. I don't know. I can't play for more than like 30 minutes. So I tried Resident Evil 7 in VR, and I just barely got past the intro of the game, honestly, and then I had to stop.
Yeah, that's
But
basically how what happened to me. I couldn't. I think I got to what's her name, Mia, and then I was like, yeah, this game's making me sick.
yeah, but it's funny. I played Drive Club in VR for like an hour, and I was loving it. I was
Hmm.
like, wow, this feels great.
Man, I really want to get into the Psychonauts series. I know it's very. I know just changing topics really drastically here, but Psychonauts. The second one came out, did very well. I tried playing the first one, the port for PS4, PS5, whatever, and it is so buggy, and so I can't really enjoy playing it. So I'm just hoping that they eventually remaster that so I can properly
Um,
play it, so I can play the second one.
that makes sense, actually. Well, I don't know if do you have an Xbox?
I do, but I don't use it.
Yeah, well, same. I have a Series S. I know they have the like you could play the original one on the Series S, and it's like, kind of updated graphics a little bit and runs
Really?
better. So yeah, so if you wanna go and try that one, I think that's probably the best way you can experience the original Psychonauts game.
Okay. I mean, I might as well just play it on PC if I'm going to do that.
Yeah, I think you should be able to on PC using Xbox or XCloud or something. I don't know.
Hmm.
Listen, I I feel I feel like I'm out of the loop sometimes because I haven't, like, besides today, I just turned on my PS5 just to check on trophies and stuff while we were talking, and I hadn't turned on my PS4 in weeks before this.
Oh, really?
It's like, yeah, which is crazy because it's not like I don't have games that I could be playing. I have a pretty
Mm-hmm.
sizable backlog. It's just, I don't know. There's nothing that I'm in the mood for right now. I just, like, I I either want the Elden Ring DLC to come out like tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'll be playing that like no problem, or I just I'm waiting for like specific games that I want to play. Like, I do want to play God of War, but again, God of War is going to be coming out literally a week before Pokemon, and I'm very interested in the new Pokemon games. You know,
What does the new one do differently?
so Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are going to be using the new mechanics, basically that they added into their newest Pokemon game, which is Pokemon Legends Arceus.
Mm-hmm.
Or Arceus, some people will say. But essentially, the gameplay has been changed so much to the point where it just feels like a fresh experience for Pokemon. And don't get me wrong, I still love the original RPG, just turn-based Pokemon game. I still love that. But the way that Legends Arceus played was so good that I couldn't wait for them to actually do a mainline Pokemon game with those mechanics, and they're doing it. This is it. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is going to be that, and it's just there's so much hype around that game, and I'm day one Pokemon.
Wow.
You know, so I don't want to rush through God of War just to play Pokemon, and I'm one of those people that it's kind of hard for me to invest time into multiple games. I'm more of a I'll play this game for like 500 hours and enjoy the hell out of it and then put it down and play a different game,
Hmm.
versus play like, 5 hours of this game and then, next time I have some time, play, 5 hours of that game. And I can't really do that.
Right. Okay. I I don't know. I'm like that too. But Elden Ring has had my attention since February. I did take a break to play Frogun for a while, but I just been so addicted to just fighting these bosses with my own standards, doing no roll challenges, no hit, no damage, without the heads up display. That it's just so. Even if I upload it and it gets no comments or any responses, I just the fact that I was able to achieve it and then upload it just is enough, and it is addicting enough for me to just keep going and just keep finding bosses to
Well,
dominate. And,
the challenge is for you. You're not
yeah,
doing the challenge because you're trying to show off or say, "Oh yeah, look at what I." No, you're doing it because that's the enjoyment you get out of it, and that's
yeah,
that's great. And
and
people will see that when, like, you'll see just randomly people start watching the videos like, "Yo, all right, I see what you did."
mm-hmm,
Like, it'll click with them and it'll get interested. They'll watch all the videos. I usually watch them when I see a new video come up. I don't always comment or something like that, but I'll usually throw it on like during when I'm at work or something. I'm like, oh, a new video. Let me see what you think of this boss.
mm-hmm. I don't know if you saw the Royal Revenant, but I had like literally no respect for that boss fight design.
Oh yeah, I think I saw that one. It's funny because I saw that one and I think I wanted to comment, but at the time I don't know why I didn't comment it. I was just gonna say he's a regular enemy. I know he's technically a boss, but he's just a regular enemy. But
Yeah,
that's kind of like how it is for a lot of the bosses in this game. They're just regular enemies that they throw in a room and they just say, okay, this is the boss fight version of that regular enemy. But the health is no different. The attacks are no different. It's literally the same enemy.
what's hilarious about that video? You'll notice this is the first review I've sent out that has the heads up display on, for the just for the boss review in general, and I just simply walked in and just got him. And I've spent a few hours. I can only spend. I was only able to spend just so much with him because his design is so frustrating because of how aggressive he is. He doesn't slow
Yeah.
down. He just keeps moving around. And I know in the review I mentioned Ludwig the Accursed. He's like a really poorly designed version of Ludwig, and he even
And
has.
even Ludwig had like telegraphs, to his moves. So
Yeah, exactly. The sound, even sound tells. He would make a very specific sound. And you're like, oh, he's about to do this attack, like his charge attack, like, "Roar," and you're like, okay, I better move out of the way.
yeah, yeah. No, Royal Revenants, oh my God. They're literally the cancer of Elden Ring.
And what I find really annoying is when I'll upload a fight like that, and I'm like, hey, what are your thoughts on the Royal Revenant? And someone would be like, oh, I just used a healing spell and it killed him in one shot. And I'm like, oh, all right, well, I'm glad you found that enjoyable, but um, do you have any
And
thoughts on the design in general? Oh well, I just walked in there and just defeated it with one shot, and it was easy. I'm like, oh well, I mean, do you have anything else you want to say? Well, and they just stop responding. I'm like, come on. I mean, I don't upload these just for brag. I don't upload these for bragging rights. I just upload these so I can get people talking, and it's very infuriating when no one wants to talk about it. Um,
no one wants to talk about the Royal Revenant, man.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
They're like,
I just meant in general. Like the Onyx Lord, if that's how you pronounce his name. I'm pretty sure I'm the first person to do that boss fight without rolling.
yeah, probably because of that one move, right? The grab, the orb grab.
No, it's the orb throw.
Well, so he throws the orb. Does it push you or does it grab you towards him
The tracking is just on point with the player. That it's just I don't think you can avoid it. I don't know if you. There might
without
be. I don't.
rolling?
There might be, but I haven't seen anyone do it. I even mentioned in the review. I'm like, hey, if there's anyone that's done a no rolling without using this level design exploit, let me know because I want to see it. But there might be some kind of jumping thing you could do to avoid it, but I didn't really find it. It's just a little section in the middle of the level design that prevented the orb from getting to you was the only way I could get through the boss without rolling.
Yeah. Huh. I wonder if because I think that specific Onyx Lord, you only fight him there in the game. Like he's nowhere else. There's a couple of Alabaster Lords that you fight throughout the game, but the Onyx Lord, I think you only fight one.
Doesn't he have a spirit version?
No.
Like at one of those seals that you activate and you get to fight him as a spirit?
Oh, maybe actually. I don't know.
Let's see. Yeah. See, his main fight is in the sealed tunnel, and he's got one in the Royal Grave Evergale.
Oh, the one behind Ronnie's Three Sisters area. Okay, right. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah, here it
I
is.
remember that.
The first Onyx Lord encounter can be found in Learning of the Lakes, imprisoned in the Royal Grave
Yeah, he gives
Evergale.
you meteor. I think he gives you. I remember because that's what I did in Elden Ring. I made a bunch of builds. So I have my magic build, my strength build, my katana dex build, my um, faith build. I have literally 7 characters fully decked out, played through the whole game with all of them, and that's what I did. Uh, when I was playing through Elden Ring, and like when I was making my magic build, that is one of the bosses that I fought early.
Mm-hmm.
Like I basically rushed towards him because he gives you this really good magic called Meteor.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah, but I didn't do any challenges per se to try to fight these guys. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you
That's
can't dodge
that's the
that
unfortunate
move.
thing about challenging yourself. Just adding organic challenges. Challenge standards in games like Elden Ring and Dark Souls, because not that many people do it at all, and you don't find many people on YouTube that have done it and uploaded videos that don't really they don't for some reason they don't want to talk about it either. I'm like, it's not, it wasn't that bad of an experience, was it? I mean, obviously you did it, so you enjoyed it to a certain extent. So I mean, I don't know. It can be a very lonely kind of area to be around because of course, people don't have to fight the bosses this way, but it would be nice if more people did challenge themselves in that way. That way, it would be a more fascinating discussion. And that was kind of my main, gripe with difficulty settings and accessibility, because the more accessibility you have, then the less people want to talk about the challenge in the core of the game. But of course, people don't have as
Oh
much.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
people always take the path of least resistance, of
Yeah.
course. Like if there's an easy way of doing something, that's what people, or for the most part, that's what people will do. Like the general public will use summons and phantoms and the mimic tier and magic and all of that stuff because I don't know, it's easier,
Yeah.
like
And
like very few people actually want to challenge themselves beyond whatever the main challenge of actually just beating the game in the first place is.
yeah, and that's one reason why I love these games so much, because you can challenge yourself in those very specific ways, and it's designed well enough so you can achieve it after you spend enough time with it. Like when I first started playing Elden Ring, learning how to fight the Stone Digger troll without rolling was definitely one of the most definitely the biggest highlight in my entire run of Elden Ring, because just finding those iframes to able to achieve all the hits with my I think my goal I don't think it was my Golan's halberd, it was the great axe, one of the and I think yeah, I think it was one of the axes. And just after I don't know how long I spent on him alone, just trying to do it without rolling, and it was absolutely fantastic. Yeah, rolling and jumping, because I still wasn't applying jumping with my play style at the time. And man, it's just I don't even know if anyone else has done it. I'll have to look on YouTube, because maybe I need to put worlds first or something on it. um, but it was so
I think
fantastic
there
getting that footage, and it's a shame that no one else has. It's a shame it's not encouraged, because no one else is talking about how much of a solution it feels getting it done.
I think there's one or two channels that play Souls games that do like to do like specific challenges like these. There's a couple of names that come to mind in the Souls community for me. There's Lobos Jr. He likes to do challenge runs where, something like you're not allowed to roll or block or parry or something like that. There's Jesus, Here's Toast, or Jesus Eats Toast. I don't remember his actual full name, but it's like Hey Zeus. So it's a Hey and then Zeus. Jesus.
Okay.
Um, and then there's also one more. Um, I believe it was Happy something. I forgot his name now. He did a really, really cool Souls marathon run where he actually didn't get hit in all of the Souls games, starting with Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Sekiro. He played through all the games and did not get hit, like, did not take any damage from any source in any one of them.
Hmm.
So there are definitely people out there that do that stuff and communities out there. I don't think anybody's done it for Elden Ring yet. I know there's no death runs, but I don't know if they've done no hit runs with applying the the modifiers of like not rolling or not doing like it's definitely been done in the previous Souls games, like the no roll, no block, no sprint, those that's been done in some of the previous Souls games, but I don't think I've seen one for Elden Ring yet.
Yeah, I'm looking up the Stone Digger Troll now, and I only see one video of someone not doing a no roll, no block, no jump, no upgrades. But see, he's fighting him very differently than I was. He's using the stagger more. He actually doesn't even avoid the attacks like I was. He just, like I said, he just relies on the stagger. He's using like I think the giant's hammer or something.
So he staggers the boss enough that the boss doesn't actually get to do anything.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's
Okay,
like I
yeah,
might be the first person to do this without staggering him.
yeah, see that's why, that's a different challenge. Sure, you can power yourself up far enough that, killing the boss in a few hits, that means you don't get to experience having to dodge or learn any of the moves or patterns,
Yeah, and,
and I don't think people realize that there is a difference
and it's
with that.
and it's the same with The Last of Us. You know, a lot of people will play it on like easy or normal, and they don't have to worry about the enemies getting by them and studying their behavior compared to grounded mode. On grounded mode, you know, you, I mean, I also apply standards that you don't have to. Like, I mean, unless you put on permadeath or but permadeath is just, man. I mean, I might as well just do no like a fist only run in Dark Souls because the time that you're wasting with permadeath, like you just get to the very end of the game, you die and you start all over. I'm like, man, I just don't have that kind of time. Like I said, I'd rather just do a fist only run on Dark Souls and spend 2 hours fighting Smo and Ornstein.
Oh, I found the guy's name for you. The Happy Hob. That's his name on YouTube. He did the Soulsborne Ekiro no hit run. So it's like all the three Souls games, the Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, Bloodborne and Sekiro no hit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that took him a year and 7 months to do for all of the
Jeez,
games.
the amount of time, the amount of time you must
Yeah.
have for something like that. Um,
Oh my gosh. Yeah, well, he's a streamer too, so he's been obviously he played it on stream the whole time. And oh, he does have a no hit run for Elden Ring. Okay, interesting. I don't think he has anything where it's like don't roll or don't uh do some other challenges, but he has no hit runs where you don't actually get hit.
hmm.
So interesting. So yeah, obviously between dodging and doing other stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
see, the bad thing about the people you listed is that they're kind of out of my range of communication. So it's not like I could just, find him on Discord, and be like, "Hey, man, can we talk about this boss and how you handled him?" Yeah, I think he's got a lot. He's got a lot more people around his circle, that I can access him with.
oh, I see. Well, I mean, never know.
I
Maybe
don't know.
reach out.
I'm trying to
Mhm.
climb the ladder a little bit. I'm trying to reach out to people around my sub count, and communicate
That
with
makes
them,
sense.
and then
That makes
just
sense. 'Cause it kind of,
yeah.
yeah, no, it makes sense because like I remember on Twitch, for example, it doesn't matter like for the Mario Maker community, it doesn't matter if you were all playing the same levels by the same people. It's just like you gotta have to reach a certain level of clout before you even like ask certain people.
Mm.
Yeah, no, I get it.
But yeah, it's a work in progress. I mean, I don't have the time to really invest into improving, my reach out to other people. I've even gone as far as reviewing people's fights for like with Margit. Like I would go and look up the most recent uploads for someone defeating Margit, And of course, I wouldn't apply my difficulty standards because that wouldn't be fair. It's not like I go in there and say, "Oh, you use spirit summons, you suck." No, no, I didn't want to do that. I just want to apply how they utilized the tools that they were given. Let's just say they used the spirit summons and they just stood there and just let the spirit summons kill the boss. Now, I would definitely have some criticisms about that. But let's just say they used the spirit summons in a well-timed manner while they were also hitting the boss. Then I'll be like, okay, well, you used the spirit summons very well right here, and I would, like I said, I would apply how well they utilize the tools into reviewing their fight. Now, I know this one guy got really mad. You, I reviewed his fight and I was like, hey man, yeah, you utilize your dodges pretty well. You got hit a few times. I'm afraid I'm gonna take off a few points. And he was like, well, this is my second attempt at it. And I don't understand why you got to criticize me like this. I'm like, hey, hold on a second. This is just for fun. I mean, I'm not attacking you. I'm just telling you how you could improve. And he's like, well, I don't see the point in that. I'm like, okay, well, hope you have a great day. Like, he got really upset. I'm like, man, what is it? I'm just, if you do, I don't know.
Like, what do you mean I didn't perform 100%? You mean I could get better?
Yeah,
I
some
don't want
people
to get
just have no
better.
interest in getting better, and that kind of blows my mind. I'm like, man, what? Why do you even play these games? I mean, the fun, the most entertaining aspect for me, I guess, is just getting better. Learning the bosses and not being overpowered, not killing them in like two shots. Going in there, understanding how they work is one of the most satisfying experiences I've ever had in gaming. Like when I walked in with the Nameless King after I studied him for a while, and I was able to just stand there with him and dance, not even attack him, avoid all of his strikes, and just sometimes I think I spent like maybe 30 minutes just walking around with him, and it's incredible taming that lion metaphorically.
Yeah, definitely. I do like the challenges that you can impose on yourself when playing these games.
Mm-hmm.
Usually for like a second time. For me, like if I'm playing it for the first time, there are some constraints that I'll put on myself,
Mm-hmm.
but for the most part, I don't. I'm not gonna not play the game as I'm not gonna say as intended because like I like to experience as much as the game has to offer on my first couple of playthroughs, for example. Like that's why I don't have any rule on using, magic or certain overpowered weapons or spirit
Mm-hmm.
summons or anything. Like my first time through is to experience the game and everything that the developer put in it. So that's usually how I play the first time through. And then afterwards, once I realize, okay, well, this is overpowered, or this is a little too strong, or this makes things not so fun because it's too easy, then I'll start applying some modifiers and some limitations to make it a more interesting and a more fun run.
Oh yes, and I love how we're always coming back to Elden Ring. Seems like we always kind of just we're always talking about something totally different, and then eventually leads back to Elden Ring. It just shows just how impactful that game is in general.
It's well designed. It's a
Yeah.
very good game.
Oh. So I don't know if this is just me. I think I've only seen maybe a couple other people just by looking it up specifically on Reddit. But do you have a problem with the L3 button at all?
With the PS5 controller,
What do you play Elden Ring on?
PS5.
Okay, yeah, on the PS5, um, L3. For some reason I am really bad about pressing L3 and accidentally crouching. I have changed my controller layout several times, so that doesn't happen. But I can't seem to find. I think maybe the best alternative I have found is putting the triangle button into the L3 input. And even that can be problematic because of the messages that pop up on the arena. Because when I'm fighting a boss, I get tensed up and I accidentally press L3, and depending on
Oh,
what setup I have, right now my ideal setup is having L1 on the L3 input. Mainly because I'm dual wielding, and it's just and sometimes I still accidentally press L3, but for some reason it doesn't happen as often when I'm dual wielding for some reason. But do you have any problems like that with the L3 button?
Um, no, no, not really. I know my brother, I think, was complaining about that at some points. Because I guess crouch attacks were so pivoted, like they were so pivotal to his play style that for him they were important. For me, I usually would only crouch if I would be sneaking, or if I was if I was being an asshole in PvP.
Oh, okay. Oh man. One interesting thing about Margot, I finally got his fight without with no damage. That was another one of those fights where it felt like I got really lucky at the end, at the very end because of his crazy combos. Um, but there's this one attack in particular that I rely on the natural of the crouch that your character does when you do a jump attack. You know, when you slam your weapons down and as you're getting up, your character is bent over for a little bit.
Yeah,
I actually use that to my advantage in the Margot fight whenever he uses I think is a heck. There's this one specific attack that he performs, and if I time it just right, I can totally avoid one of his attacks just by using the recover animation from a slam attack.
oh, that's really cool.
And I don't know if I have it in the footage or not. I was able to get a parry on Margot, so at least I got that. There is a very specific method I used to get a consistent parry. I would walk up. No, yeah, I would wait for the spear throw because every time pretty much 8 out of 10 times, he would perform the same kind of sword swipe after his spear throw, and I would get a parry on it every time, and then just walk away and wait for that spear throw again, or just any other attack that I found reasonably, I found reasonable enough to go up and get an attack on him because he's very aggressive, and he like some attacks he just keeps attacking just because you're right up to him. But and you got to parry him 3 times to get a repause. So I basically got to hope that he does that spear throw enough times within a certain amount of time because I don't want to fight him for too long for
That
the
you'll
review.
get one repos throughout the match.
I'm sorry.
No, I said that you'll end up getting one repos at least throughout the match.
Yeah, exactly. I don't even parry him in the second phase because in the second phase, it's just there's he's actually a lot more reasonable in the second phase when it comes to openings because he has 2 more attacks like this blood charge. Well, he has a couple. Yeah, the 2 blood charge attacks he has, like the thrust one where he impales you and throws you, and the other one where he just basically winds up and just slashes a couple times. Those allow a few hits. But you only have enough time to hit him maybe once or twice. Then you got to back off because of the combos he'll unleash, which are ridiculous.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Margot was one of the hard fights for me when I was playing through the first time. Mostly because I used a shield the first time I was playing,
Oh,
and yeah, and he just overwhelmed. He just overwhelmed me.
yeah, he pretty much was my breaking point for doing the reviews. I got to him and I was like, man, I just want to get through the rest of the game. I'm tired of applying these standards. And then I jumped right back to my standards once I got to Malekith. Once I got to Malekith, I was like, oh man, the boss designs they're awesome again. Cause oh man, the Godskin duo. Every time I get to them, it totally breaks me out of the game. It is the worst part of Elden Ring for me because of just how poorly designed it is, and I cannot get into that fight to save my life.
No, it's not a good fight at all. There's nothing good about it, honestly.
And
Yeah,
just when you think you find something that works in the Godskin duo, there's something that compromises it. Like I thought I had something with the roll attack from Godskin Noble, the fat one, whatever. He'll roll and he'll stop. He'll get caught on a pillar. Well, I was thinking, oh, well, the pillar breaks. I'll just jump on the pillar while he's rolling there and attack him. Maybe get a stagger. But at least I'm safe because Godskin Apostle just stands around. He doesn't really do anything. And I was like, okay, well, this seems legit. And then next thing I know, he rolls over that broken pillar. I'm like, well, that's screwed. I can't do that
yeah,
anymore.
it doesn't work. It's funny. They've actually patched the Godskin duos to make them easier. Before, their AI would always attack you at the same time, no matter what. There was no standing around. But
Mm,
they've patched it a few times. But the most recent patch is the one that actually works, where if one of them is attacking you, the other one sort of kind of idles a little bit
yeah.
and watches you, and then they can switch at any time. It's almost like it's one AI controller for two characters, and then when it's attacking you with one character, it doesn't really attack you with the other one, and it can switch, so you don't know when it's going to switch. That still makes it you know a little chaotic and hectic, but definitely not as bad as when the game first came out and it wasn't patched. Oh my gosh,
Man.
that fight was absolutely garbage. But again, if you're applying, certain limitations on yourself, that fight is just either impossible or just not fun at all.
Yeah.
But if you're playing it sort of, we'll say how the developers intended you to, and I say that loosely because there's no real intended way of playing these games. You're sort of able to do however you want.
Yeah.
But you do have, by the time you make it to the Godskin Apostles, or the Godskin duo, you do have either access to summons right there in front of the boss fight, or you have access to enough spirit ashes that you can use that would be able to distract at least one of them while you focus on the other one. I don't think the developers sort of thought that, oh, people aren't going to play through this whole game without ever using spirit summons. We put it in the game. Of course, they're going to use spirit summons, right? So they designed a boss without any care to think that there are people that won't want to use spirit summons or any other summons to help them. And that's what makes that fight so terribly bad design.
Yeah, and I keep trying to tell people, whenever they're like, "Why are you complaining about something when you're not using the tools that the game gave you?" I'm like, here's the point. The games from the past, you've been able to play, Soul Level 1 without any items of convenience just fine. In Elden Ring, for some reason, they're like, "Oh, we're just gonna throw a bunch of nonsense at you, because you got spirit summons," and it doesn't feel as well thought out at all like the previous games. Like, I can go to Dark Souls 1, play Soul Level 1, have a very reasonable experience, and it doesn't feel like I'm being cheaped out of anything. I mean, like, heck, with Gravelord Nito, there are tools to prevent the
The
skeletons
skeleton.
from bothering you. You can equip the Ring of Fog, the Slumbering Dragon Crest Ring, and you can just fight Gravelord Nito himself. I mean, that there are tools in there just so you can fight it solo instead of just dealing with RNG from the skeletons. And then in Elden Ring, you just got these two already annoying enemies, just placed together, just without any thought. And you also got things. It teases you, like I said before, like with the whole pillar thing, where you think you got an idea, you think you got a dominating strategy to use, and it's like, oh, just gonna roll over the pillar. You can't do that anymore, especially if you don't want to take damage. And I've looked up. I mean, even there is not a single no. At least I haven't found one. There's not a single no roll video for Godskin Duo. I mean, that should tell you something.
There might be, but people use other things like magic, or they use sleep
Well,
because you can
yeah.
put them to sleep.
Well, I meant no rolling without using the sleep or magic tricks or spirit summons. I'm just talking about like no rolling, ruin level 1. Just
Oh my gosh, no, yeah, that's impossible.
Yeah, and I think maybe the best strategy that I have seen still requires so much RNG. It's ridiculous. And this guy, he singles out Godskin Noble. I think that's the fat one. Um,
Yeah,
and parries him. The problem with that is that it leaves you vulnerable because once you're out of that animation, the Godskin Apostle can just run up and say, "Hey, I'm just going to one shot you now," and there's nothing you can do
yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
And that it
Yeah.
sucks so much. And there's like 9 minute runs for ruin level one. I'm like, God, man, why do they have to put so much
Nine
health
minutes
on
of
this boss in
not
the first
getting
place?
hit.
I mean, man, like I said, when I get to the Godskin Duo, I just don't even want to play the game anymore. Everything I have no problem with everything else in the game except for the Godskin Duo. I'm like, I can really do without that. And the worst thing about it is that it's mandatory, to get through the rest of the game, and it also holds like the bell bearing for to upgrade your weapons further. And I'm like, man, of all
Yeah,
bosses, why do they have to put it on that boss?
I know that's honestly one of the most annoying. Just the fact that it's a requirement. There is another duo fight in the game, but it's not a required fight.
Yeah.
You know, and they have much less health too. I also didn't understand the whole concept of making a shared health pool and making it so that if one dies, it just comes back after a set amount of time. Like I never understood that concept. Like why? Why would you
Mm.
do that? It's like they tried to make the Four Kings what Gods Can Do, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, mixing Smoke Ornstein with the Four Kings just wasn't a good idea. I mean, imagine fighting Smoke Ornstein with the Four Kings concept. I don't think anyone would have liked it either.
Yeah, no. I mean, the reason that the Four Kings even works as a boss, even though it's obviously, um, a bullshit fight, kind of like the duo fight, the Gods Can Duo fight, it can get even worse if you don't kill it fast enough. A third one will spawn. I definitely understand that, but the reason that the Four Kings one at least works is one, the actual boss itself doesn't have that big of a health pool that it's impossible to kill them before another one spawns.
Right.
And then two, it takes some time for one, even if one does spawn, it takes some time before it can get to you. And also, it's not constantly spamming projectiles. So it's like, it's better designed just because of those limitations that they put on the Four Kings,
Mm.
you know. But
Uh,
that doesn't exist in the Dads Can Do It. They spawn right next to each other and they can keep spamming fireballs from across the map anytime they
yeah,
want.
and it's funny because the Godskin Apostles fireball or whatever has less tracking than the Godskin Nobles fireball, which seems to have higher tracking for some reason. I don't know why. You just can't seem it. Well, you can't outrun it to the side, outstrafe it. But when you're close enough, you can't do it like you can with the apostle for some reason. But man, it's just
That's interesting.
God, man. Yeah, I get annoyed just thinking about it because I want to review it, but I'm closer to just reviewing the one in the Spirit Cave than I am with the Godskin Duo itself. And I think I'm like, man, I'll just review that one, get it out of the way, and not ever have to worry about the Godskin Duo ever again because I'm just going to use sleeping pods because the fight's not well designed enough for my interest.
Right. No, like if you're trying to do a challenge run, it's not a very good design fight for that.
Yeah.
But I do think the one in the Spirit Summon Cave is not bad. I think, you know, yeah, it's still bullshit for the most part, but it's not as bad as the duo that you fight
You know,
in Fire Emblem.
another thing, I found a consistent way to deal with the roll attack that Godskin Noble has. Basically, what you do, if just time it right, roll through his roll, and then after that, you can actually run beside the rest of his rolling animation until he's
Yeah,
done.
he keeps rolling. I remember that.
And but
Well,
one thing that
I didn't want to
sucks.
mention it
Oh, sorry.
because I know you were saying no, I didn't want to mention it because I know you were saying obviously you were trying to put limitations upon yourself. But yeah, rolling through it is usually the best way because he keeps rolling, but there's no chance that he's actually gonna catch you if you keep
Yeah,
moving with him.
I'm totally forgetting about doing a no roll challenge with Gods Can Do, especially if no one's done it yet. If no one with more time than I have hasn't done it yet, then I have no chance in having the time to do it. Um, so, and another thing, before we go, we have to leave here. I have to get off here in a second because I got to feed my baby. Um,
I got
when the Godskin Nobles performs the roll attack, he has this odd little frame skip that throws me off. It's like it's almost like he pauses for like a fraction of a second, and I'm like, whoa, what the heck happened? And then it can totally catch you off guard. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. He has like some kind of animation frame skip when he starts rolling, and
Possibly.
it seems to
I
happen every
think.
time.
I mean, the Noble on his own is just
Yeah,
still an annoying fight, just in general. But
I mean, there's a reason why I haven't made a review for any of them yet because I don't like them at all.
well, I like. You know what's funny? You're gonna laugh at me, but when I first played the game, I got to the apostle that was in the Divine Tower of Caelid. I got to that one when I was rune level 40.
Mm,
Early on in the game, I had no good weapons, no nothing, and I literally sat there for hours fighting him,
wow.
But yeah, eventually I beat him.
Yeah.
But it was like I was dying in like one or two hits. But I don't know. I just like my stubborn self just kept banging my head against the wall until I beat it. But it was fun. I actually like I think by the time I ended up beating him, I actually appreciated the fight because I
Yeah.
learned everything about him. I kind of knew all of his patterns and all of his tells and you know I don't know. I think that's what I like about challenge runs, and I'm sure that's what you like about them too. Is just learning the boss and
Yeah.
learning everything that they can do and being able to have an answer for anything that they can throw at you.
Yeah, and I definitely agree. And I think the reason why I don't like the God skins is probably because they're just so different. Maybe they're it's probably the same thing with the Deathrite bird. They're just so incredibly different. I'm just not used to them, and that's probably why it's so frustrating. I mean, I think there are still problems with the design, definitely, especially with the Deathrite bird. I think the Deathrite bird has a lot more problems than the Godskin duos individually. Um,
Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's one streamer that was I don't know, I guess they died so many times to the Death Ride Bird that like they almost stopped playing the game because of the Death Ride Bird. The one that's in the consecrated, not the consecrated, like one of the snowy areas, but it was funny because like they're a decent player. They didn't have a problem fighting anything else, but when it came to the Death Viper, they just kept dying.
yeah,
It was
there's
kind
always
of funny, honestly.
wow. Yeah, there's always that one boss. But man, I have a lot more stuff I want to talk about, but I don't have the time. I definitely appreciate you coming back on. Um,
Yeah, man, it was
I'm
fun.
going to have to record some. This gives me a push to record the rest of my solo level one run for Dark Souls because this is about a 2 hour podcast, so it's definitely going to be a very nice upload. I'm gonna try my best to split up discussions and upload them individually. So hopefully maybe you can get a little bit more grasps from viewership wise. Um, there's definitely a lot of cuts for Elden Ring discussions in this one. But
Yeah, honestly,
I'm gonna try different things out to see what happens. I mean, I know there are people out there that want to hear what we're talking about because I found a couple people already that are like, "Hey, man, this certain topic I don't ever hear it discussed, and you guys talked for like 30 minutes about it, and I don't ever see people doing that." So I mean, there are people out there that wants to hear these kind of topics.
well, I hope we find them.
Oh yeah,
Honestly, I think one of the biggest things I've found, at least for YouTube, it's consistency. If you're uploading something, it doesn't really matter what it is. So if you have, for example, this conversation that we've had, you found enough topics that you can break up maybe, few minute videos here and there. You could release them a little bit at a time, but like over a span of like a week or something. For some reason, YouTube likes that. YouTube likes consistency, and they'll push your videos out to more people.
hmm,
Um, Once you like, if you do the one video every so often thing, it's I don't know, like YouTube just doesn't care. It's like, oh, every time you come back, who are you again?
oh, heck, my wife's calling me, man. We'll we'll go ahead and jump off of here, but appreciate you jumping on and talking to me about this stuff because I got I got so much stuff I want to talk about, and it just sucks when I don't have a whole lot of people to talk to. But We'll definitely do
Listen,
this another
man.
time, man.
Anytime. Just let me know. Give me some heads up. We'll figure out a time. We can always talk.
Gotcha. All right. Well, that's been Twilight, and once again, I am Gay Charlie on YouTube, and I want to appreciate everyone for listening this for so long.
All right. Peace out, everybody.
All right. Bye bye.